You're listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kerbyson, and Reed Bacon.
Let's go. Let's freaking go. It is spring football time in Tennessee. I am sorry for the glare coming off the glasses for any of you all that are watching. I usually don't have bad allergies. I do this time of year. And so I took the contacts out, got some eye drops in, trying to rock these glasses. So I like how they look, but I do apologize for the glare, so I will try to catch a spot here. Anyways, thank you all for jumping on. Looks a little different, looks a little weird. You see my dad Holston Hills picture, and then my dad Pebble Beach picture, and a Holston picture, and bacon junk removal instead of the big fella. So unfortunately, Kyler's not going to be able to join us. As you guys saw the video on Twitter that I put out a couple days ago, it's just been one of those weeks. It's been one of those weeks. The bad weather over in Nashville, which Kyler's good. They didn't have any damage to the house or any flooding, which is great. But hoping everyone is okay from all that stuff. But it's just been one of those weeks. The big fella put in his time to kind of his research, I would say, diving into what we wanted to talk about and who he was going to talk about and things of that nature. He just can't make it to record tonight. We've already put it off long enough. We want this to drop on Wednesday morning, which it should, which is tomorrow morning. But we just wanted to jump on. We're going to talk a little football. He's not going to be here to drop it down to spring game, who to watch and close. That's okay. You can just still see kind of who we're talking about or kind of the schedule of what we will be talking about tonight. So anyways, spring football, Kyler and I, we didn't go over to spring this year. He couldn't come in, and I understand it, making that drive in. And if he's going to make the drive in, make the effort in, he wants to come in fall camp, you're going to see a lot more in fall camp. We're going to maybe be able to pick and be like, oh, this is the starting five on the offensive line, or this is the starting five back on the defensive backfield, or these are the rotations that we're seeing. You're going to have a better idea when it comes to fall camp compared to spring practice. Spring practice, as Kyler's told us a bunch, this is where they're going to move guys around, see who fits where, kind of see, hey, let's give this guy a shot at this spot. And so that's why he didn't come in. And so now this is really, it's kind of been exciting to be honest with you. I don't know how many other, or kind of how many of you all are kind of treating it how I'm treating it, where we got our butts kicked by Ohio State. Season ended. We did a game recap. We did a season recap. You kind of the quick flurries of the transfer portal, who's leaving, who's not leaving, who says they're leaving but then's coming back. Who do we get in the transfer portal? And then after that, I was just done, man. I was done with football for a minute. I kind of needed to take a reset. Obviously, we had the basketball season to jump on and watch that. But dare I say, I've been excited to go back and start looking at this roster and to look at, who's returning. What do I feel like this team's going to look like next year? You go 10-2. You make it to the playoff. You get blasted by Ohio State, the team that ended up winning the national championship. They blasted pretty much everyone they played. And so it kind of, the better half, the wife is calling. Let me tell her I'm on here. Hello, lover. I'm actually currently recording the podcast right now, so I will have to call you back if that's okay. All right. Well, you be safe. Love you. Bye. Megan says hello, Vol Nation. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So you go 10-2, you get blasted. No one wants to get blasted like that. No one wants to see that. But then after you see what Ohio State does to other teams, you kind of feel a little bit better. And with the past couple of national champions, you look, and this is something I was thinking about the other day, and I'm not going to dive deep into it here, maybe at another time, but 2 years ago you had Michigan and a lot of seniors that came back that, making NIL. They don't have to go to the NFL yet. They came back, old team, veteran-led team. Ohio State, a good amount of veterans. Obviously, they had some really key young players, but an older team, a vet team, a $20 million team potentially. And so you saw what happened there. And now I'm kind of looking at, well, who's that team this year? Who's the veteran team this year? And so I haven't really delved into that yet. I'll be excited to see who that is. But when you think about Tennessee, we play the same game every year. I know I do personally. I don't know if you all do it, to where it's like, oh, man, we're losing James Pierce. We're losing Dylan Sampson. We're losing Big Omari Thomas. We're losing one of my favorite players, Omar Norman Lott. And it's like, damn, how are you going to replace those guys? But then if you think about it, we were saying that thing the year before it. Oh, we're losing this guy. We're losing that guy. How are we going to be able to replace this guy? Oh, this guy's going to the transfer portal. And since Heupel's been here, in my opinion, I thought he's done a really, really good job each of those years, whether it's winning games the next year, replacing guys in big spots the next year. And so one thing I'm excited about is to see what the 2025 version looks like. A nice little Butchism, but each team's different. This is team 118, 117. I'm just kidding. I don't know what team this is, but really each team, it's different. There were times Kyler and I were coming on the podcast after watching games and having to defend Heupel and the team for winning games, but people were upset that the offense didn't look the same. I get it. The offense potentially didn't look the same, but we were still winning games, and I could see it to where the head ball coach was still drawing up plays, and there were opportunity for plays to be made, and they weren't being made. So is that a coach thing? Is that an execution thing of the players? Ultimately, that does fall back on the head ball coach. But I'm excited to see last year and I appreciate that Heupel was able to win in a different way besides air it out, big plays, outscore you. I appreciated knowing that you didn't trust your right and left tackle. You got a young quarterback on the road in Oklahoma, and you pound the rock and win with defense. I'd like to see that my coach can win ball games in different ways. That's the ultimate goal, have more points at the end of the game. And so going into this year, I would be surprised if Tennessee is a defense first, pound the ball. Maybe they are. I don't think that's the case. But then that leads me to say, okay, well, we all know, if you're watching this, you're a Tennessee fan, we all know that Nico does have to take another step. The offense has to take another step. To go back to the playoffs, maybe it's going to have to be a pretty big step in the right direction, whether that's just hitting the open guys that Heupel has dialed up. Maybe that is not turning the ball over in a big spot against Alabama. Yeah, we were fortunate enough to come back and win that game. But is it winning with his feet on the ground, like running against Ohio State? I did appreciate that the Ohio State game, as bad as it looked, you're not ever going to question Nico's fight and his toughness. And he doesn't have to be a vocal guy. As a player, if I see my quarterback doing that, if I just see any of my teammates playing like that, I'm going to rally and want to play hard with them. So that's what I'm most excited about, kind of as we're starting to look at this, and we'll have this pod, and Kyle and I will talk about the spring game. We're probably not going to get a ton from the spring game. I was thinking, preparing for this, what have I learned of spring games since Heupel's been here? Well, the very first spring game, I learned that, hey, this guy's going to take his shots. I couldn't believe it. I was like, is this just because it's a spring game, or this is what he does? And it was like, no, this is what he does. If he gets man-to-man coverage and it's our single coverage on the outside, like he's taking his shot. He didn't care if it was Jack Jancic running routes, or Hendon Hooker throwing it, or Brian Maurer throwing it, or whoever it was. It didn't matter. Like, that's so you learn that year one. Year two, you kind of see some flashes of different players. It's like, all right, let's see what this is going to do. To be honest with you all, maybe you'll have a better memory than me, but there's anything from last year that really stood out to me that I felt like I could take going into that year. And so for me, this spring game will be, kind of the players to watch. And so if Kyler was here, we could switch that thing down to who to watch really quick, because I don't have much more on the spring games besides, hey, you're not going to take anything away from a team, and what looked good here, or what, if the offense looked good, the defense looked good. It's more about the players, because you don't know what they're doing offensively. You don't know what they're going to do defensively. You're not going to show a ton. It's just a good thing for guys to get out in front of people, to have like a glorified practice. And so I want to jump in kind of who to watch more than the spring game as a whole. And I'll start with Kyler's kind of some people that he mentioned, which is just funny. I don't know how I forget, but we'll just start in the receiver room. Amari Jefferson, a guy that I was super fired up that we ended up getting to transfer back home. I know he played in Chattanooga, but transferred back to the state of Tennessee from Alabama. Didn't play at Alabama, but just watching the tape that I can watch on him, which is his high school highlight film, I thought the guy was a really, really good player. A great looking athlete, a great size guy. This will be one of those guys that I can promise you, when Kyler and I go to fall practice, I'm going to be doing a walk by. I'm going to say, hey, what does this guy look like in person? How's he moving? I do think that he has the ability to be kind of an all around, whether he beats you deep, whether you get it to him quick, and he can, scatterbug and get up the field. So that's one guy that I've kind of forgot about. It's like, hey, that's going to be an important piece. We have Chris Brazzell coming back. You hope he takes a step. And as I mentioned with Nico, you hope Chris probably takes a pretty substantial step. If you feel like you need him to be wide receiver number one, maybe he doesn't need to be wide receiver number one. Maybe Mike Matthews can be that. Everything that you hear, he's having a really good camp. Maybe this year, with him knowing that he's going to be a guy, I'm not going to say the guy, but a guy, a starter. He doesn't have Squirrel there. Brew's not there anymore. Dante's not there anymore. And as a player, you approach things differently. You really do. Going into a spring practice or a fall camp, or even a season when you know you're a starter, I mean, things are different mentally, how you approach the game. And so I think we're all really excited to see what he's capable of doing. And then you got, Braylon Staley, who I really liked coming out of high school. But it's funny that, and that's why there's usually two of us, because I had forgotten about Amari Jefferson. And Kyler had brought him up like, hey, I want to see. Like, let's see. Will we see a ton of stuff from him in the spring game? I don't know. I don't know how many reps he's going to get. I don't know if we're going to get a nice little piece where someone throws him a go ball and he goes up and high points it and it looks great. That would be awesome to see. But that was just one that Kyler had mentioned that he wanted to see. Another one that these are obvious ones of Kyler wants to see and all Nation wants to see are the big boys. What is Sam Pendleton going to do? I think I said his last name correct. From Notre Dame, a guy that started a lot of ball at Notre Dame, and then he doesn't. And I apologize. You all have probably seen this elsewhere and know better than I have. I did not look into it. Did he get pulled because of injury? Did he get pulled because of play? I'm not sure. Like I said, if someone puts it in the comments, I would appreciate it. But that's an important piece. I mean, realistically, the entire offensive line's an important piece. I know Kyler mentioned, hey, we want to see Wendell Moy and we want to see Sam. Those are the new guys. It's nice that they're the new guys that have played a good amount of ball. And it's no knock on Javonte Spraggins. Anybody that watches this podcast knows that Kyler and I really appreciated that dog mentality and how he played, but that he also got beat a considerable amount sometimes. Some of that aggression would come back to bite him. And so it's like, am I personally worried? This sounds terrible, but am I personally worried about replacing him? No, not necessarily. Because I think he's very replaceable. I hope that the person that comes in can take another step, from what Javonte's brought on the field. I know that off the field he was probably pretty great as a leader and a locker room guy and things of that nature. That left tackle, that left guard was a rotating door. So hopefully Sam can come in. And once again, the floor that these guys are having to replace is not a lot, and hopefully they can take that next step. I think the one that all nation is like, hey, what are we doing at center? And I'm going to ask this on the next pod because I am very curious of what Kyler says. I know Cooper was really, really good, and I know he was a very valuable piece mentally, knowing the checks, getting everybody, hey, do you know what you're doing? Getting everybody lined up, being a friend to that young quarterback. But I say all that to say center's usually not the most important physically. Can you help double team? Can you work up to the second level sometimes? So is that next center basically mentally where we need him to be? Because physically I'm not worried about a center. It's probably pretty easy to find a center that is serviceable, I guess is the best way to put it. We know about our tackles. Lance Hurd sometimes looked like he was really good. Other times he looked like he didn't want to be there. Does he take a next step in his growth and his maturity? Because physically he's there. To the best of my memory, the talent was there. David Sanders looks like a freak. We can all see that from watching the videos, from reading what people are talking about. And Kyler had mentioned that he felt like he could have a chance to start as a freshman, which is something that after I saw him in person, granted it wasn't in pads, but seeing him down on the field, he's a bigger guy, but he looks lean now in pads. He looks great. And this is spring. I can't imagine what he's going to look like after a summer. And so does he start? Does that blue chip 5-star talent is it paid off? I mean, is this one that we all got really excited about and it pays off pretty quickly? We get to see him year one. That would be awesome for multiple reasons, because that means he's really good. And then that means that we're going to have him for at least 3 years. And he can be kind of a cornerstone of that offensive line. So a lot of new pieces. Like I said, Cooper's one of the most important ones that we're losing, but I'm more worried about the two guards. I'll be interested to see what you all think about that. I'll be interested, like I said, to see what the big fella thinks about it. I'm really excited about tight ends. To get Miles back another year is extremely important. I'm not talking defense yet, but just so I don't forget, I think the fact that Bryson Easton's coming back again is so massive. I hate to say it, but I was rewatching a little bit of the Ohio State-Tennessee game because it was just on ESPNU the other day. And to start that game, Bryson Easton whips that guard, gets in the backfield. Unfortunately, gets his hand a little up high, gets the face mask. But Bryson Easton, I know that defensive line was just really, really good as a whole. And James Pierce was awesome. Omar Norman Lott in his spots was awesome. And he's jumped up the NFL, ranking and recruiting and draft boards. But I think Bryson Easton coming back is so important and so clutch, and I'm so happy about that. But anyways, I just didn't want to forget that. But you go to Miles and having a veteran like that and having that presence back there again, especially with Heupel showing that he loves the two tight end set and how that we use them, whether we use them as the slot, whether we use them on the line of scrimmage or whether we use them back as like an H-back. And so I think having him come back is massive. It takes a lot of pressure off of any new guys, whether incoming freshmen or transfers, and it takes a lot of pressure off Ethan Davis. Because if Miles was not coming back, everyone in Vol Nation is saying Ethan Davis has to take this next step. Big-time recruit coming out, high-level 4-star, athletically, as a pass catcher, as those things we thought there would be no issue there. It was going to be how was he blocking, how was he doing the other things that's asked of him besides being a pass catcher. And so now that Miles is back, I think that gives a great grace period. And if you're Ethan, you should hopefully be able to come out and say, just let it go. Like, let's just play free. You're not having to be tight end number one. You can be tight end number two. And he had a year of watching Holden and Miles and playing a little bit when he had his chance. So it's funny that there's a lot of turnover offensively. It it's funny that there's a lot of turnover offensively, but I still feel pretty confident, and maybe that's just because Coach Heupel as the offensive coordinator. I'm sorry, as the offensive coordinator, but as the head coach and the head of the offense, I feel like he's always going to have people in place that are good enough to run. And what I mean by that is to run his offense to whether it's 9 or 10 wins. It might not be what it looked like in 2022, but I firmly believe that he's going to have guys that are good enough. I think it's when they get elite guys that I've always said that we'll see the difference. But running back is another one where the whole time Heupel's been here, I felt like it was a product of the system. Jabari Small, fine, good running back. Jalen Wright, good running back. I think we had Tyon Evans, good running back, but for me, Dylan was definitely. It's hard to say the best, and I know people could argue with what Jalen Wright did and where he got drafted, but to me personally, I think Dylan was the most impressive, and Kyler and I talked about because of the times that he had to make that first guy miss, and a lot of times they were going to pack the box on us. I was listening to a draft podcast that breaks down all the running backs that are coming in to the draft this year or who are draft eligible, and they were talking about Dylan Sampson, and it was saying, hey, a lot of the NFL guys say that the Tennessee running backs are running against 5- and 6-man boxes because of the way that we spread the field. But he said, hey, if you look at it for Dylan, there was a lot of times that he actually was running against a 7- or 8-man box. And that's one thing that Kyler and I noticed too, that we would be in amazement on like a 4-yard run of Dylan's, but he made 3 guys miss in the backfield where his offensive line gave him no help, where maybe a tight end missed a block, or maybe on the edge a receiver missed a block. And he makes the first guy miss, and it's a 3-yard gain, but it was all Dylan Sampson making that 3-yard gain compared to a 5-yard loss. And so I think that is where I'm most worried, a running back. I'm very excited about Deshaun Bishop. I love the way that he runs. I think he's going to run over some people. He'll run by some people. I want to see a little bit of that wiggle. If he gets a safety one-on-one, is he going to be able to shake him? Or maybe if he gets a linebacker that's broken free in the backfield, is he going to be able to shake him, and instead of 3-yard loss, he gets a 5-yard gain? That's what I want to see with Deshaun, and I really need to see that with Peyton Lewis. Peyton Lewis looks like he was built in a lab. He's a track guy, super fast, great-looking athlete. When he hits it, I think he's going to relieve people. I think he's kind of going to be that Jalen Wright part where there's green grass and he's going to eat it up quick, and he might bust a 50-60-yarder. But once again, I want to, if those holes aren't there and it's a 3rd and 3 and Heupel might go under center, or we have a motion to bring Miles in the backfield and the H-back, and they're packing the box. Is he going to be able to shake one way or the other, make a guy miss, break the next tackle, and fall forward for 4 or 5 yards? I think physically he's big enough to do that, but you still want to see it. And then, going in, it's SEC ball, the way that we play, the way that we run. Who's number 3 and who's number 4? I mean, you lose a guy early in the season, and your 4th string running back is now getting run, is now getting snaps, is now getting minutes. So I'm basically in the spring game who to watch. Any running back that's in orange or white besides Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop. I think ultimately as we continue to dive into this, watch the spring game, go to fall practice, get closer to the season, it's still going to be hard for me, or I guess I should say I'll be surprised if there's really anything more important than Nico just taking the next step. Maybe we're going to have to go back to outscoring people compared to winning it with running and really, really good defense. And so I'm hopeful, and for multiple reasons I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the kid himself, Nico. I'm hopeful for All Nation, and I think it would be really cool and really special and exciting to see another 2022 year with what Hendon put together. And You think I might be joking, but I was talking with Kyler. I think one of the most important positions is like, I want to see where our backup quarterback is. We all joke about gas pipe, Gaston Moore, who's not there. Weirdly, I felt very comfortable with him being there last year if Nico got hurt. Not because I necessarily thought he was a really good player, but just knowing Heupel's system. If you've got a guy that's been in that system for a while and hopefully he can hand the ball off, hit the dinks and dunks, and not turn it over, then it's like, you can probably beat a Mississippi State with Gaston Moore. If when Nico goes out, you can compete and beat like a Kentucky and some of these other middle SEC teams. I really thought that. I really believe that with Gaston. Well, now it's, how do I feel about Jake Merklinger? I can't imagine that he's not the number 2. I don't see McIntyre or someone else being the number 2, and so you have to be pretty fortunate to go the whole year in any level of football to not have your starting quarterback out for a couple series, a game here or there. And so it sounds crazy to say, but like I want to see some of these other quarterbacks. And also sounds bad to say, but are we just going to hit the shots when they're open? Can we be 50%, 60%? If you got a deep dig and he's open, can we hit him in the window? If you've got a guy deep, on a post or on a climb route or on just a straight go ball, can we complete half of them? Those change the dynamic of our offense and the way that our team plays as a whole tremendously. And so I think backup quarterback is one thing that I really want to check. And hopefully the spring game, these guys aren't going to get hit, so it's not live bullets for them. But like I said, can you still deliver the ball on time and accurately and things of that nature? Defensively, I'm still really excited about our secondary. Will Brooks, what an awesome season he had. I did not expect that from him. I'd love to get him on this pod sometime to chat with him, but he was so awesome and to watch. I remember talking with some buddies and saying, Will probably just be in the right spot at the right time. I don't see him making any big-time plays for us. And, man, was I wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. With some of the pick that he changed the game against NC State, the pick to seal the game against Alabama. He was a really good player. He was a good player. Is Andre Turrentine, does he take another step? Or, no offense, is he a Tank McCullough and Trey Flowers, who's like, you know who they are? Pretty solid, not great, but not bad. Maybe give up something here or there that you're frustrated with, then they're going to make a play that you're fired up about. So is that what Andre does, or does he take another step? We know how good Jamon McCoy is, so as long as he comes back off of his injury, that's a tough one for me because I feel like nowadays guys come back super quick and they recover super quick, but that doesn't mean that it's not still affecting him mentally or anything like that. So a guy of that caliber, just for him personally, I hope that he can come back 100% because he's going to make a lot of money and be a really good player for Tennessee for another year and then go to the NFL. At least I think that he's only got one more year. Ricky Gibson. I like Ricky a lot. We liked him coming out of high school. We all thought that he played really well. There were some clips that I put out to our Twitter page. I was really impressed with some of the stuff he did this year. The Ohio State game didn't look good, but it didn't look good really for anybody. And then all the stuff that happens. I mean, as fans, short for fanatics, as I always say, he's going to get beat once or twice this year, and fans are going to say, hey, go back to the transfer portal. Like, you shouldn't have come back. We should have let you walk, whatever. How does all that play for him as still a younger guy mentally? Does he take another step? And you would think trajectory-wise, with his age and kind of being the first year that he started last year, sorry if you're watching, my ears do itch. Apologies. Trajectory-wise, he should take that next step, as a starter. He should, we're playing Madden or NCAA, and if he's an 82, 85, you're coming back another year. You should be an 87, 88 type, take that next step. And so that's exciting. Nickel, I'm never worried about who our nickel is going to be because every year we've had a really good one, but Boo was really good last year. I mean, he was a darn good player. How does he take that next step? I know I didn't talk about him offensively. I think the kid is – I said it. I tweeted it out. I mean, Boo looked like he was born coming out of the womb with Nikes on his feet and a football in his hand. When he's got it in his hand, it's special. But I kind of, the saying, I'll believe it when I see it. It's not because of his talent, but, how much is he able to do playing both ways, meaningful minutes? And so that's why it's not even on him. Maybe I don't know what the coaching staff's wanting to do. Are we going to rotate a ton in at the slot receiver or whatever? Or is he going to come in and it's only gadget plays? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But defensively, I'm really excited about him. You got, I said Jamal McCoy, but number 6, Jalen McMurray. Yep, Jalen McMurray. Let me double check to make sure I was right there. I'm almost positive. So Jalen McMurray, does he rotate again and play some? Does he have to step in and play? He's going to get a lot of reps, you would think, right now with Jermon McCoy out. But that's another guy that was in last year. Like, I thought he was a good player. Then you go to that other safety spot. I love the way Jacoby Thomas plays. Absolutely love it. The guy is an absolute head humper. The guy is a head hunter. Will absolutely thump you. The Oklahoma hit I will never forget that hit. That was so damn impressive to me because it wasn't just a kill shot across the middle. And that other guy was running full speed, and he had to track him down. And so I'm excited. Jordan Thomas coming back after an injury. That's one that I haven't thought about personally. I haven't heard people mentioning about. Does he play deep safety? Is he going to play nickel some? It would be hard for me to imagine Boo gets taken off the field like he did last year, rotating with Christian Harrison, who I thought was a pretty good player. I'll be surprised if our secondary is not as good as they were last year. And I thought they were a pretty damn good group last year. I thought, yeah. Once again, Ohio State, last thing in our mind, not ideal, but they're really, really good. Jeremiah Smith's really good. That team was really good. So secondary, I'm excited about. It probably is linebackers. I'll work my way down defensively. I think linebackers, if we're talking about who to watch, I'm not really worried about secondary. Maybe I'll watch and just see if anyone pops out. I don't know if Jordan Thomas will be playing based on where he is with his recovery and his injury and how much he's been doing in spring. I apologize. I haven't been reading much of that stuff, or maybe I haven't just seen his name. But linebacker, I want to see Edwin Spillman. I want to see anyone else but behind T. Lander and Aaron Carter. I trust Arian and T. Lander to be good and serviceable. I hope they can each take another step. I don't know if T. Lander's kind of maxed out with where he is. I don't know if he's hit his ceiling yet. You wouldn't think he has, but the way that I watch him play, I don't see him getting any faster. I don't see him getting any bigger. And so I think he's kind of where he is. And which is fine. I think he's a good rotational linebacker, good linebacker piece. I love the way he plays physically and plays hard. I think Arian, I still have hope, takes another leap, if mentally clicks, and so he can play fast and free. I think he does have that ability to take that next step ceiling-wise. And but I still trust those guys, and maybe you say I trust them. Maybe that's a little misleading. I trust them because I know what they are. I hope that they can take another step. But if they don't, I still know where we're going to be linebacker, at least with those two. But what's behind them? Besides the depth, what does it look like? I mean, Jalen Smith played and wasn't bad at times, but he left and went to Mississippi State. And where does that leave some of these other young guys? Obviously, there was a couple freshmen that Kyler and I absolutely loved, but are we going to count on a freshman playing really meaningful snaps? I mean, potentially they could. I mean, Edwin was in there playing against Ohio State. Aaron Carter played a decent amount his freshman year, I think, before he got injured. So I still think that's the main key for me is linebackers. I trust the defensive line again. Even losing 3 big names with Omar Norman Lott, Omari Thomason, and Joshua Joseph. I think Dominic Bailey is gone even too, which he was a guy who doesn't get the recognition of those other guys, but made plays from time to time. And I'm just scrolling here on my phone quickly because I do think Dominic Bailey is gone. Yeah, I don't see. Oh, no, he's back. So that's huge. I think I would put Dominic Bailey right up there with Bryson Eason. Oh, I know. It was Elijah Simmons I was thinking about who's gone. So defensive line, I'm not we're even losing what we're losing. I still think we're going to be really, really good. As good as last year, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just a little step behind what we were last year, but that's still going to be really damn good. You got Bryson Eason, you got Dominic Bailey, you got Joshua Joseph, Kyler's guy, who I'm glad he mentioned and I wrote down, but Caleb Herring. Does Caleb Herring take that next step? A big-time recruit coming out of the Nashville area, got a great-looking frame and body. It's his time if he's there. A Jordan Ross, is he taking that next step on that edge? And it's tough to say edge and interior because I know where it's, you got a guy that stands up or puts his hand in the dirt at times. We really play like a 4-2-5. But then guys that I would consider edge, where's Tyree West? Does he make another step? Obviously, physically, he's shown that he can be really, really good, really quick, really strong. I think I got a little frustrated because he had the sacks against Iowa, and then everyone wanted to tweet out it's Tyree West's breakout year. And, well, now here we are, and it's like he didn't have a breakout year. He was fine and good, but he wasn't really talked about like other guys were. So it's, is this year his breakout year? But listen, Bryson Eason, Dominic Bailey, Joshua Joseph, Jackson Moy coming back another year. Then some of the young guys that we've heard about. I don't think I'm looking through these glasses that are glaring. I don't think they're orange tinted to say that defensive line is going to be pretty damn good again. And what is his name too that I forgot to mention? There were some flashes, and Kyler and I were told that Davian Hobbs. So when Kyler and I went to practice last year, we were being told by someone who played D-line, who was a coach at the time, graduate assistant coach at the time, hey, Davian is special. He has a chance to be special. Well, he was fine, but he was still younger last year. I mean, he's still a true sophomore. So how does he look as a junior this year? Is it one of those where the light bulb goes off and he has a bigger role to play? And so, yeah, I think players to watch defensive line is kind of like Caleb Herring, Jordan Ross, maybe some of those interior guys that we have recruited, like a Tyrese Weatherby, and that's just off – memory. I'm trying to think of some of these other ones on here that Kyler and I have talked about. Let's see. I know Tyrese Weatherby that we had watched. Let's see. I'm sorry. No, not Joshua. Not Dominic. Nathan Robinson. That was one. Man, he looked big and good. I mean, he looked big and like a damn good physical, just country strong boy in there throwing people around 6'6", 330. I mean, my gosh, that's big. But I'm telling you guys, he looked great in person last year when we went. And, so I'm kind of excited to see some of those guys, but you still don't think you're going to have to see a ton of them because of the other rotation that we saw. That would basically take you from 6-7 man rotation to like an 8 or 9, 10 rotation, kind of like we had last year. But overall, spring games are what they are. They basically get us excited. Maybe we can see a little pop here and there from a couple players, but you can never really take too much of it. It's kind of be a little grain of salt of kind of what you see. But hopefully me talking out loud, basically kind of what I'm looking for and what I'm excited about in some of the players. Maybe if you watch this, you might say, oh, yeah, I forgot about that guy too, or, yeah, that's a good point. So hopefully I brought a little something for you. Vol Nation, we love you. We appreciate you guys for following, watching, keeping up with us. Like, subscribe. I hate saying all that stuff, so I didn't say it at the beginning. If you like us, then you will like and subscribe. But we appreciate y'all, as always. Vols.